You're crumbling under pressure, breaking down during challenges, and feeling overwhelmed by adversity, while certain people demonstrate unbreakable mental resilience, bouncing back from setbacks, staying strong through difficulties, and emerging stronger from every challenge. Recognizing that mental resilience is not genetic gift or innate trait, but learnable systematic capability built through specific practices and frameworks that anyone can develop. Knowing that unbreakable resilience means you not only survive adversity, but actually grow stronger through challenges, maintaining psychological strength, composure, and effectiveness regardless of external circumstances. Understanding that resilience determines success more than talent, intelligence, or resources, because brilliant, capable people who break under pressure achieve nothing, while resilient people persist through obstacles, eventually prevailing and losing years of potential achievement, relationships, and well-being, because psychological fragility prevents you from handling inevitable difficulties of ambitious life, making resilience development absolutely essential for sustained success and fulfillment. This mental fragility is systematically sabotaging your life by causing you to avoid challenges that would develop capabilities, because fear of difficulty keeps you in comfort zone, preventing growth, making you quit prematurely when facing obstacles rather than persisting through temporary setbacks to reach breakthrough, creating anxiety, stress, and overwhelm during normal difficulties that resilient people handle easily, preventing recovery from setbacks, keeping you stuck in rumination and despair rather than learning and moving forward, and ensuring decades pass achieving fraction of potential, because psychological weakness limits what you attempt and what you complete, making mental resilience development critical priority. Developing unbreakable mental resilience is not about becoming emotionless robot unaffected by difficulties, but about building psychological strength that enables feeling emotions while maintaining effectiveness. Not about avoiding all stress, which is impossible, but about developing capacity to handle stress productively. And not mysterious gift, but systematic development through specific frameworks. This audiobook teaches how to develop unbreakable mental resilience through 10 comprehensive frameworks, including building stress inoculation tolerance through controlled exposure, developing cognitive reframing, transforming perception of challenges, cultivating growth mindset, viewing obstacles as opportunities, establishing emotional regulation, maintaining composure, creating strong social support networks, providing psychological safety, developing realistic optimism, balancing hope with preparation, building physical foundation, supporting mental strength, practicing acceptance of uncontrollable factors, developing purpose and meaning, providing motivation, and integrating all elements into comprehensive resilience architecture, making you psychologically unbreakable. Stop breaking under pressure and start developing unbreakable mental resilience. Stop psychological fragility and start psychological strength. Master 10 frameworks systematically. Practice deliberately and become mentally unbreakable through unwavering commitment, starting now. Chapter 1. Framework 1. Build stress inoculation through controlled exposure. Chapter 1. Build stress inoculation, developing psychological tolerance through controlled exposure to manageable stresses, creating resilience that enables handling larger challenges. The inoculation principle from stress research shows that systematic exposure to small doses of stress in safe, controlled contexts builds psychological and physiological resilience, enabling you to handle larger stressors more effectively. That complete avoidance of all stress creates fragility, where even minor difficulties feel overwhelming, because you never developed coping capacity. That controlled voluntary stress exposure creates anti-fragility, where you actually become stronger through manageable challenge, not just surviving, but improving through adversity. That stress inoculation works through same biological mechanism as vaccines, where controlled exposure to pathogen creates immunity. And understanding that building stress tolerance through deliberate controlled exposure is absolutely essential first framework for unbreakable mental resilience, because resilience cannot be developed in comfort, only through facing and overcoming difficulty, making stress inoculation foundational practice for psychological strength. Build stress tolerance through controlled exposure. Practice voluntary challenge. Inoculate systematically or remain fragile. The gradual exposure progression introduces stresses systematically, starting with very manageable challenges, then progressively increasing difficulty as tolerance builds, creating sustainable growth without overwhelming system. Gradual exposure might begin with minor social challenges like asking stranger for directions before progressing to public speaking. Start with brief cold showers before attempting ice baths. Practice small financial risks before major investments, or attempt slightly difficult physical challenges before extreme tests. The key is starting where success is highly probable, building confidence and capability, before advancing to next difficulty level. Attempting challenges far beyond current capacity creates trauma, not resilience, through overwhelming coping resources. Progress incrementally, ensuring each level is mastered before advancing, creating solid foundations supporting higher levels. The voluntary challenge selection chooses difficulties deliberately rather than only facing stress when circumstances force it, creating sense of agency and control. Voluntary challenge means deciding to do difficult things when you could avoid them, seeking opportunities for growth through manageable adversity, and creating challenges for yourself rather than waiting for life to impose them. Voluntary nature transforms stress from threat to challenge because you chose it, maintaining sense of control. Examples include choosing to have difficult conversations you could avoid, volunteering for challenging projects you could decline, attempting ambitious goals when easier options exist, or deliberately practicing skills at edge of ability. Voluntary challenge builds confidence through proving you can handle difficulty by choice, not just necessity. The safe practice environment develops stress tolerance in contexts where failure has limited consequences, enabling learning without catastrophic risk. Safe practice might include practicing public speaking first in supportive groups before high-stakes presentations, having difficult conversations with trusted friends before critical business negotiations, attempting physical challenges with safety equipment and supervision, or testing new approaches in low-risk situations before applying in critical contexts. Safe practice allows making mistakes and learning from them without permanent damage, creating space for skill development. The safety enables taking risks and pushing boundaries that would be too dangerous in unprotected environments. The variety exposure builds broad resilience across different stressor types rather than narrow tolerance to single challenge. Different stressors activate different coping systems, requiring varied practice for comprehensive resilience. Expose yourself to physical stressors like exercise, cold exposure, or controlled hunger. Social stressors like public speaking, networking, or conflict. Cognitive stressors like complex problem solving or learning difficult subjects. And emotional stressors like vulnerability, sharing, or facing fears. Varied exposure creates generalized resilience, transferring across contexts rather than narrow coping ability limited to single situation type. The recovery integration ensures adequate rest and restoration between challenges, preventing chronic stress accumulation that depletes rather than builds resilience. Stress inoculation requires oscillation between challenge and recovery, not constant stress. Build recovery through ensuring adequate sleep between challenges, scheduling rest days or periods, engaging in restorative activities, and monitoring for signs of excessive stress indicating need for recovery. Recovery periods allow biological and psychological systems to adapt and strengthen from stress, creating actual growth. Continuous stress without recovery creates breakdown, not resilience. The reflection practice extracts maximum learning from stress exposure through analyzing experiences, identifying what worked, and implementing improvements. After stress exposure, ask what made situation challenging. How did I respond effectively or ineffectively? What would I do differently next time? And what did I learn about my capabilities and limits? Reflection converts raw experience into learning and growth, creating faster capability development than unreflective exposure. The progressive difficulty increases intensity systematically as capacity grows, preventing plateaus while avoiding overwhelming jumps. When current challenge level feels manageable consistently, it is time to increase difficulty incrementally. Progressive difficulty might mean adding time, duration, or intensity to current challenge, combining multiple stressors simultaneously, reducing support or resources available, or attempting more complex or unpredictable versions of familiar challenge. The implementation requires identifying types of stress you want to build tolerance for, starting with very manageable versions of those stressors, progressively increasing difficulty as capacity builds, choosing challenges voluntarily, creating sense of agency, practicing in safe environments, enabling learning, exposing to varied stressor types, building broad resilience, integrating adequate recovery, preventing depletion, reflecting on experiences, extracting learning, and treating stress. Inoculation, a systematic tolerance building where stress avoidance created psychological fragility, preventing handling of normal life difficulties, making controlled exposure essential first step toward unbreakable resilience. Build stress tolerance through controlled exposure. Practice voluntary challenge. Inoculate systematically or remain fragile. You understand now that controlled exposure builds tolerance like vaccines, that gradual progression prevents overwhelming, that voluntary challenge creates agency, that safe practice enables learning, and that Chapter 1 provides inoculation framework making stress tolerance possible where avoidance created fragility. Chapter 2. Framework 2 develop cognitive reframing transforming challenge perception. Chapter 2 develops cognitive reframing transforming how you perceive and interpret challenges, fundamentally changing emotional responses and enabling resilience. The reframing power from cognitive behavioral therapy shows that external events are essentially neutral stimuli, but your interpretations, thoughts, and beliefs about those events create your emotional responses, meaning same situation can produce completely different emotions depending on how you think about it. That changing interpretation changes emotional experience without changing external reality, enabling you to reduce suffering and increase effectiveness through better thinking. That threat perception activates stress response, while challenge perception activates performance response, creating dramatically different physiological and psychological states from identical situations. That most people never question automatic interpretations, accepting first thoughts as truth, when those interpretations are often distorted, incomplete, or unhelpful. And understanding that developing cognitive reframing skills, enabling you to consciously choose empowering interpretations rather than accepting automatic negative ones, is essential second framework for unbreakable mental resilience, because perception creates reality, making reframing critical skill for psychological strength. Reframe challenges through cognitive restructuring. Change interpretation, changing response. Reframe systematically or accept automatic negativity. The ABC model from Albert Ellis provides framework for understanding how interpretations create emotions through identifying three components in every emotional response. A represents activating event, the external situation or trigger that occurred. B represents belief, the thoughts, interpretations, and meanings you assign to that event. C represents consequences, the emotions and behaviors that result from your beliefs about event. Most people incorrectly assume a causes C, believing external events directly create emotions, when actually B causes C, meaning beliefs and interpretations create emotional consequences. Understanding ABC model reveals that you cannot always control the activating events that happen, but you can control B, your beliefs and interpretations about those events, thereby controlling C, your emotional consequences. Same activating event with different beliefs creates completely different emotional consequences. The thought challenging systematically questions automatic interpretations, identifying distortions and generating more accurate balanced perspectives. Automatic thoughts arise instantly without conscious deliberation, often containing cognitive distortions like catastrophizing, imagining worst possible outcomes, all or nothing thinking, seeing only extremes without middle ground, overgeneralizing, drawing broad conclusions from single events, personalizing, assuming everything relates to you, mind reading, assuming you know what others think, fortune telling, predicting negative futures with certainty, or emotional reasoning, believing feelings reflect reality. Challenge automatic thoughts by asking, what is actual evidence for this thought? What evidence contradicts it? Am I confusing thoughts with facts? What are alternative explanations? What would I tell friend having this thought? And what is most realistic balanced perspective? Systematic challenging reveals that many automatic interpretations are distorted, exaggerated, or simply false, creating unnecessary suffering. The alternative perspective generation deliberately creates empowering interpretations of challenging situations, replacing automatic negative frames with chosen constructive ones. Alternative perspectives might reframe failure as valuable learning opportunity, revealing what does not work, rejection as protecting you from poor fit situation, criticism as useful feedback for improvement, obstacle as strengthening challenge, building capability, or setback as temporary delay, not permanent defeat. Generate alternatives by asking, how could I view this situation more constructively? What opportunity might this difficulty create? What could I learn from this experience? How might this ultimately benefit me? Or what would a resilient person think about this? Practice generating multiple alternative interpretations for every challenging situation, training mind to see options rather than accepting single negative frame. The evidence examination evaluates interpretations based on objective facts rather than feelings, assumptions, or fears. Evidence examination asks, what are specific observable facts of situations separate from interpretations? What would neutral observers see? What evidence supports my interpretation? What evidence contradicts it? and what is most accurate assessment based on available facts. This prevents catastrophizing and distortion through grounding interpretations in reality rather than imagination or emotion. The perspective taking imagines how others might interpret same situation, revealing that interpretations are choices, not inevitable truths. Ask, how would friend view this situation? What would mentor or role model think? How will I view this in 5 years? Or what would someone who has overcome similar challenge think? Perspective taking reveals that negative interpretations are not only possible view, creating freedom to choose more empowering frames. The thought recording practice builds reframing skill through systematically documenting challenging situations, automatic thoughts, alternative perspectives, and resulting emotions. Write down activating event describing what actually happened, automatic thoughts noting first interpretations, emotions, and intensity rating distress level. Thought challenges questioning automatic interpretations, alternative perspectives generating empowering reframes, and new emotions rating how reframing changed feelings. Regular thought recording builds automatic reframing ability over time. The preemptive reframing applies constructive interpretations proactively before automatic negativity arises, preventing distress rather than managing it after occurrence. Before potentially challenging situations, deliberately choose empowering frames, like viewing presentation as opportunity not threat, seeing difficult conversation as chance to improve relationship, or framing challenge as growth experience. Preemptive framing prevents negative spiral before it starts. The realistic balance maintains optimism while acknowledging genuine difficulties, avoiding both catastrophizing and naive positive thinking. Realistic reframing recognizes actual challenges while maintaining empowering perspective, like this is difficult but manageable. I am struggling now but can improve, or situation is challenging but temporary. Balance enables effectiveness through clear assessment combined with constructive attitude. The implementation requires learning ABC model, understanding how beliefs create emotions, systematically challenging automatic thoughts, identifying distortions, generating alternative empowering perspectives for challenges, examining evidence, grounding interpretations in facts, taking alternative perspectives, revealing interpretation as choice, practicing thought recording, building reframing skill, applying preemptive reframing, preventing negativity, maintaining realistic balance, avoiding extremes, and treating cognitive reframing as transforming perception, creating different emotional reality, where automatic negative interpretations created unnecessary suffering, making reframing essential skill for mental resilience. Reframe challenges through cognitive restructuring. Change interpretation, changing response. Reframe systematically or accept automatic negativity. You understand now that interpretations create emotions, not events. That ABC model reveals beliefs as cause, that challenging thoughts reveals distortions, that alternatives exist always, and that Chapter 2 provides reframing framework, making perception transformation possible, where automatic thinking created suffering. Chapter 3. Framework 3. Cultivate growth mindset, viewing obstacles as opportunities. Chapter 3 cultivates growth mindset, viewing obstacles, difficulties, and failures as opportunities for learning and development, rather than threats or permanent limitations. The mindset distinction from Carol Dweck research shows that fixed mindset believes abilities, intelligence, and talents are static, unchangeable traits you either have or lack, making failure evidence of inherent limitation. While growth mindset believes capabilities are developable through effort, practice, and learning, making challenges opportunities to grow and failures valuable feedback. That mindset fundamentally affects how you respond to difficulty, with fixed mindset avoiding challenges too. Protect self-image, while growth mindset embracing challenges as development opportunities. That growth mindset enables resilience through viewing setbacks as temporary and formative events rather than permanent defeats, revealing inadequacy. That most people hold mixed mindsets, being growth-oriented in some domains while fixed in others. And understanding that deliberately cultivating growth mindset across all life domains is essential. Third framework for unbreakable mental resilience, because mindset determines whether you persist through or avoid challenges, making growth orientation critical for psychological strength. Adopt growth mindset, viewing challenges as opportunities. Embrace learning from setbacks. Develop growth orientation or remain fixed. The ability belief foundation recognizes that believing abilities are developable versus fixed creates completely different approach to challenges and setbacks. Fixed mindset believes intelligence, talent, and capabilities are innate and changeable, making improvement impossible beyond genetic limits. This belief creates avoidance of challenges that might reveal limitations, devastation from failures proving inadequacy, and ceiling on achievement determined by supposed fixed ability. Growth mindset believes abilities develop through dedicated effort, effective strategies, and learning from experience, making improvement always possible regardless of starting point. This belief creates seeking challenges as growth opportunities, viewing failures as informative feedback, and unlimited potential through continuous development. Examine your beliefs, asking, do I believe my abilities are fixed or developable? How do I respond to challenges? And how do I interpret failures? Consciously adopt growth beliefs, recognizing that neuroplasticity research proves brain continues developing throughout life, making ability development scientifically validated fact, not wishful thinking. The challenge approach orientation seeks difficult tasks as development opportunities, rather than avoiding challenges to prevent failure exposure. Growth mindset asks, what can I learn from this challenge? How will attempting this difficult task help me grow? And what capabilities will I develop through this struggle? Fixed mindset asks, what if I fail and look incompetent? Is this too hard for me, or should I stick to what I am already good at? Deliberately choose challenging tasks, opportunities, and projects specifically, because they are difficult, recognizing that easy, comfortable activities maintain current level, while difficult challenges force growth. Practice approaching rather than avoiding challenges, retraining yourself to see difficulty as good, not bad. The failure interpretation framework treats setbacks as valuable learning feedback, rather than evidence of permanent inadequacy. When experiencing failure or setback, growth mindset asks, what can I learn from this? What specific aspects need improvement? What strategies should I try differently? And how does this failure help me improve? Fixed mindset interprets failure as, I am not good at this, I lack necessary talent, or I should give up and try something easier. Reframe every failure as learning opportunity through systematic extraction of lessons, asking what worked, what did not work, why did it not work, and what will I do differently. Failure becomes useful data for improvement rather than discouraging verdict on ability. The effort value appreciation recognizes that effort, practice, and persistence are essential for achievement, not signs of inadequacy. Fixed mindset sees needing effort as evidence of lacking natural talent, thinking, if I were truly talented, this would be easy. Growth mindset sees effort as path to mastery, recognizing that even geniuses require dedicated practice to develop capabilities. Value effort through celebrating hard work, not just easy victories. Recognizing that difficulty indicates you are growing, and understanding that struggle is necessary component of improvement, not character flaw. Effort becomes badge of honor, showing commitment to growth. The strategy focus emphasizes finding effective approaches rather than blaming ability when current methods fail. When struggling, growth mindset asks, what strategies might work better? Who could I learn from? Or what different approach should I try? Fixed mindset concludes, I am not capable, rather than current approach is not working. Separate ability from strategy, recognizing that failure of strategy does not mean failure of potential. Experiment with different approaches, methods, and techniques when current one proves ineffective. The process praise reinforcement uses self-talk and feedback focused on effort, strategies, and progress rather than innate ability. Praise yourself for hard work practiced, effective strategies used, or improvement achieved, not for being smart or talented. Process praise builds growth mindset, while ability praise reinforces fixed mindset. Say I worked hard and improved rather than I am naturally good at this. The incremental progress recognition celebrates small improvements and progress rather than demanding immediate mastery. Growth mindset appreciates that capabilities develop gradually through accumulated small gains. Notice and celebrate incremental progress, asking, how have I improved from last week? What small gains have I made? Or what can I do now that I could not before? Incremental recognition maintains motivation through long development process. The learning goal orientation focuses on developing capabilities and understanding rather than just proving competence to others. Set learning goals like master this skill or understand this concept rather than performance goals like hit a grade or impress others. Learning goals enable resilience because you succeed through effort and improvement regardless of external outcomes. The implementation requires adopting belief that abilities are developable through effort, approaching challenges as growth opportunities rather than avoiding them, interpreting failures as learning feedback, not permanent verdicts, valuing effort as path to mastery, not sign of inadequacy, focusing on finding effective strategies when struggling, using process praise, reinforcing effort and improvement, recognizing incremental progress, celebrating small gains, setting learning goals focused on development, and treating growth mindset as enabling resilience through viewing obstacles as opportunities where fixed mindset created fragility, through avoiding challenges and interpreting setbacks as permanent limitations, making growth orientation essential for mental strength. Adopt growth mindset, viewing challenges as opportunities. Embrace learning from setbacks. Develop growth orientation or remain fixed. You understand now that mindset shapes response to challenge, that abilities are developable, not fixed, that failure provides feedback, that effort enables mastery, and that Chapter 3 provides growth mindset framework, making resilience possible where fixed mindset created avoidance. Chapter 4. Framework 4. Establish emotional regulation, maintaining composure. Chapter 4 establishes emotional regulation, maintaining composure and effectiveness during stress through managing emotional responses productively. The regulation importance from emotional intelligence research shows that ability to regulate emotions determines success more than intelligence or skills, because unregulated emotions create impulsive, destructive decisions, poor judgment, and damaged relationships regardless of capabilities. That emotional regulation is learnable skill, not innate trait through specific techniques and practices anyone can develop. That regulation does not mean suppression or denial of emotions, which creates psychological harm, but rather experiencing emotions while maintaining behavioral control and clear thinking. That dysregulated emotions hijack rational thinking through amygdala activation, preventing effective problem solving and decision making. And understanding that establishing emotional regulation, enabling you to feel emotions fully while maintaining composure, effectiveness, and sound judgment, is essential for a framework for unbreakable mental resilience, because emotional control separates those who thrive under pressure from those who collapse, making regulation critical capability for psychological strength. Regulate emotions, maintaining composure under stress. Control responses productively. Develop regulation or react destructively. The physiological regulation techniques manage emotional arousal through direct intervention in body, creating calm state that enables clear thinking. Controlled breathing activates parasympathetic nervous system, reducing physiological arousal through slow deep breathing like box breathing, inhaling for 4 counts, holding 4, exhaling 4, holding 4 repeatedly, or 4-7-8 breathing, inhaling 4, holding 7, exhaling 8. Practice controlled breathing daily, making it automatic response to stress, enabling rapid activation when needed. Progressive muscle relaxation reduces physical tension through systematically tensing then releasing muscle groups throughout body, creating relaxation response. Implement by tensing muscle group for 5 seconds then releasing, noting difference between tension and relaxation, progressing through all major muscle groups. Physical exercise releases stress hormones and produces endorphins, creating natural mood regulation. Engage in regular vigorous exercise, especially during high stress periods, enabling biological emotional regulation. The cognitive regulation strategies manage emotions through changing thoughts and perspectives about situations. Cognitive reappraisal from previous chapter applies directly to emotional regulation through reinterpreting situations in less threatening ways, reducing emotional intensity. When experiencing strong negative emotion, pause and reframe, asking, is there alternative, less upsetting way to view this situation? Am I catastrophizing or overgeneralizing? And what would more balanced perspective be? Distancing techniques create psychological space from emotions through observing feelings as temporary mental events rather than identifying with them. Practice thinking, I am experiencing anxiety rather than I am anxious. Noticing emotions arise and pass without becoming them. Distraction redirects attention away from emotion, triggering stimuli toward neutral or positive alternatives, when continuing to focus would be unproductive. Use distraction deliberately when rumination or worry becomes counterproductive, shifting attention to engaging activity. The acceptance and mindfulness approach manages emotions through acknowledging and allowing feelings without resistance or judgment. Emotional acceptance recognizes feelings as natural responses, not failures or weaknesses, allowing them to exist without trying to suppress or eliminate them. Practice accepting emotions through acknowledging I feel angry or I feel anxious without judging feelings as bad or trying to force them away. Acceptance paradoxically reduces emotional intensity because resistance amplifies while acceptance allows natural dissipation. Mindfulness observes emotions with curiosity and detachment, noting physical sensations, thoughts, and urges associated with emotion without immediately acting on them. Practice mindful observation during emotional experiences, describing sensations like tension in chest, racing thoughts, or urge to yell, creating space between feeling and action. The behavioral regulation approaches manage emotions through deliberate actions that shift emotional states. Physical self-soothing engages activities that calm nervous system, like taking warm bath, listening to calming music, spending time in nature, or engaging in gentle stretching. Identify personal soothing activities and use intentionally when emotional regulation needed. Expressive writing releases difficult emotions through structured journaling about experiences, feelings, and thoughts. Write continuously for 15 minutes about emotional situation without editing or censoring, enabling processing and perspective gaining. Social sharing talks through emotional experiences with trusted, supportive people who validate feelings and provide perspective. Seek appropriate social support when experiencing difficult emotions, avoiding isolation that intensifies distress. The emotion labeling practice increases regulation through accurately identifying and naming specific emotions. Research shows that labeling emotions reduces amygdala activity and increases prefrontal control. When experiencing emotion, pause and identify specifically what you feel using precise emotion words, like frustrated, disappointed, anxious, or irritated, rather than generic bad or upset. Expand emotional vocabulary, enabling more precise labeling and greater regulation. The urge surfing technique manages impulses and urges without acting on them through riding emotional wave until it naturally subsides. When experiencing urge to engage in destructive behavior like yelling, walking out, or revenge, notice urge without acting. Observe intensity rising and falling like wave, and wait for natural dissipation that always occurs. Practice urge surfing, proving that impulses pass without action, breaking automatic response pattern. The values alignment ensures emotional expression and regulation align with core values and long-term goals, not just immediate feelings. Before acting on emotion, ask, does this response align with my values? Will I be proud of this action later? And does this serve my long-term well-being and goals? Values alignment prevents destructive emotional reactions that contradict deeper commitments. The self-compassion practice treats yourself kindly during emotional difficulty rather than harsh self-criticism that intensifies distress. When struggling emotionally, speak to yourself as you would support a friend, offering understanding and encouragement, not judgment and criticism. Self-compassion reduces shame and promotes healthy emotion processing. The implementation requires learning physiological regulation techniques like controlled breathing and progressive relaxation, applying cognitive strategies including reappraisal and distancing, practicing acceptance and mindfulness, observing emotions without judgment, using behavioral approaches like self-soothing and expressive writing, labeling emotions precisely, increasing prefrontal control, surfing urges without acting, allowing natural dissipation, aligning responses with values, preventing destructive reactions, practicing self-compassion, reducing shame and criticism, and treating emotional regulation as maintaining composure and effectiveness, where dysregulation created impulsive destructive responses, undermining goals and relationships, making regulation essential skill for resilience. Regulate emotions, maintaining composure under stress. Control responses productively. Develop regulation or react destructively. You understand now that regulation enables effectiveness under emotion, that physiological techniques calm arousal, that cognitive strategies reframe situations, that acceptance reduces intensity, and that Chapter 4 provides regulation framework, making composure possible where dysregulation created destructive reactions. Chapter 5. Framework 5 creates strong social support networks providing safety. Chapter 5 creates strong social support networks providing psychological safety, practical assistance, and resilience buffering. The support importance from resilience research shows that social connection and support networks are strongest single predictor of psychological resilience across diverse challenges and populations. That isolation and lack of support magnify stress, making challenges feel overwhelming, while strong support buffers stress, making same difficulties more manageable. That different types of support serve different needs, requiring diverse network, not single relationship. That humans are fundamentally social beings with biological need for connection, making isolation psychologically harmful regardless of other strengths, and understanding that deliberately creating and maintaining strong diverse support networks providing emotional validation, practical help, and informational guidance is essential. Fifth framework for unbreakable mental resilience. because social support provides safety net enabling risk-taking resilience and recovery, making network building critical priority for psychological strength. Build strong social support networks providing safety. Maintain connections proactively. Develop support or face challenges alone. The emotional support function provides empathy, validation, and caring, helping you feel understood, accepted, and valued during difficult times. Emotional support comes from people who listen without judgment, validate your feelings and experiences, express care and concern for your well-being, and provide comfort and reassurance when struggling. Emotional support does not solve problems but makes you feel less alone and more capable of handling difficulties. Build emotional support through cultivating relationships with empathetic, caring people, sharing vulnerabilities and struggles rather than maintaining perfect facade, expressing appreciation for emotional support received, and reciprocating support when others face difficulties, creating mutual caring relationships. Emotional support is particularly critical during grief, loss, or emotional crisis when practical solutions are impossible, but feeling understood provides comfort. The instrumental support function offers practical, tangible assistance with tasks and problems, reducing burden and enabling problem solving. Instrumental support includes helping with specific tasks like childcare, transportation, or household work, lending money or resources during financial difficulty, providing physical assistance when ill or injured, or offering skills and expertise to solve problems. Instrumental support directly reduces stress load through sharing burden. Build instrumental support through developing reciprocal helping relationships, offering practical help to others, creating goodwill, asking clearly for specific help needed rather than hinting, and expressing gratitude for assistance received. Be willing to both give and receive instrumental support, avoiding either pure dependency or inability to accept help. The informational support function shares knowledge, guidance, and perspective, helping you understand situations and make better decisions. Informational support includes providing advice based on experience, sharing relevant information or resources, offering different perspectives on problems, or teaching skills and knowledge. Informational support improves decision-making and problem-solving through accessing wisdom and knowledge beyond your own. Build informational support through cultivating relationships with knowledgeable, experienced people in domains relevant to your life, asking for advice and perspective when facing decisions or challenges, considering and evaluating information received critically rather than blindly accepting, and sharing your knowledge and experience, helping others reciprocally. Mentors, experts, and people with relevant experience provide valuable informational support. The social companionship function provides enjoyable shared activities and experiences, reducing isolation and maintaining positive mood. Companionship includes friends for recreational activities, people sharing interests and hobbies, companions for social events and gatherings, or simply people to spend enjoyable time with regularly. Companionship prevents isolation and provides positive experiences, balancing life difficulties. Maintain companionship through scheduling regular social activities, pursuing shared interests with others, maintaining friendships through consistent contact, and prioritizing social connection, not just during crisis but ongoing. The support network diversity ensures you have different people meeting different support needs, rather than expecting single person or relationship to provide everything. Diverse network might include family members for some needs, close friends for others, professional colleagues for work-related support, mentors for guidance, and acquaintances for companionship. Different relationships serve different functions, with some people better for emotional support while others excel at practical help or information. Build diverse network through cultivating relationships across different life domains, recognizing that no single person can meet all needs, and matching support needs to appropriate relationships. The proactive maintenance keeps support networks strong through regular contact and mutual investment, rather than only reaching out during crisis. Support networks atrophy through neglect, requiring consistent maintenance. Maintain networks through regular contact with important relationships, even when not needing help, remembering and acknowledging important events in others' lives, providing support to others proactively, not just when asked, and treating relationship maintenance as ongoing priority, not optional activity. Networks maintained during good times are available during difficulties, while neglected relationships feel awkward to activate only when needing help. The reciprocity balance ensures you both give and receive support, creating sustainable mutual relationships rather than one-sided extraction or provision. Healthy relationships involve reciprocal exchange where both parties give and receive over time, though not necessarily in identical ways or immediate exchanges. Monitor reciprocity, asking, am I both giving and receiving support? Do I help others or only seek help? And do I accept help offered or insist on complete independence? Adjust to ensure balanced reciprocal relationships. The support-seeking willingness overcomes reluctance to ask for help through recognizing that seeking support demonstrates wisdom, not weakness. Many people struggle to ask for help, viewing it as inadequacy, when actually knowing when and how to seek support demonstrates social intelligence and resilience. Practice asking for help when needed, being specific about what would help, accepting help offered graciously, and recognizing that people generally want to help and feel valued when asked. The implementation requires building emotional support relationships, providing empathy and validation, developing instrumental support networks offering practical assistance, creating informational support connections, sharing knowledge and guidance, maintaining social companionship, preventing isolation, ensuring network diversity across different people and support types, maintaining relationships proactively through regular contact, balancing reciprocity, both giving and receiving, overcoming reluctance to seek help when needed, and treating social support as critical resilience infrastructure, providing psychological safety and buffering where isolation magnified stress and difficulties, making network building essential for unbreakable resilience. Build strong social support networks, providing safety. Maintain connections proactively. Develop support or face challenges alone. You understand now that social support is strongest resilience predictor, that different support types serve different needs, that proactive maintenance prevents atrophy, that reciprocity creates sustainability, and that Chapter 5 provides support framework making connection possible, where isolation created vulnerability. Chapter 6. Framework 6. Develop realistic optimism, balancing hope and preparation. Chapter 6 develops realistic optimism, balancing hopeful positive expectations with realistic preparation for difficulties and obstacles. The optimism distinction shows that realistic optimism expects positive outcomes and believes effort will succeed while also acknowledging real obstacles and preparing for them, contrasting with naive optimism that ignores risks and difficulties, creating vulnerability when problems inevitably arise, and differing from pessimism that expects negative outcomes, creating self-fulfilling prophecy through reduced effort and premature quitting. That optimism strongly predicts resilience, achievement, and well-being across domains because positive expectations motivate sustained effort, while pessimistic expectations undermine motivation. That optimistic explanatory style for setbacks, viewing them as temporary, specific, and external, rather than permanent, pervasive, and personal, enables faster recovery and continued persistence. And understanding that deliberately developing realistic optimism, maintaining positive expectations while preparing intelligently for obstacles is essential. 6. Framework for unbreakable mental resilience, because optimism provides hope and motivation, enabling persistence through difficulties, while realism prevents naive unpreparedness, making balanced optimism critical perspective for psychological strength. Develop realistic optimism, balancing hope and preparation. Expect positive while preparing for obstacles. Optimize perspective or succumb to pessimism. The explanatory style framework from Martin Seligman research shows that how you explain events, particularly negative ones, fundamentally affects resilience and persistence. Optimistic explanatory style interprets setbacks as temporary, believing difficulties will pass, not last forever. Specific, seeing problems as limited to particular domain, not contaminating entire life. And external, attributing some causation to circumstances, not purely personal failure. Pessimistic explanatory style interprets setbacks as permanent, believing problems will continue indefinitely. Pervasive, seeing single failure as evidence of total inadequacy across all domains, and internal, attributing all blame to personal deficiency. These styles become self-fulfilling because permanent, pervasive internal explanations destroy motivation, creating giving up, while temporary, specific external explanations maintain hope, enabling continued effort. Examine your explanatory style by analyzing how you explain recent setbacks. Do you think this always happens to me, or this happened this time? Everything is ruined, or this specific thing did not work, or I'm completely inadequate, or circumstances and my approach was suboptimal. Shift toward optimistic style through conscious reframing of setbacks as temporary, specific, and partially external, while maintaining accountability. The positive expectations cultivation maintains hopeful outlook, expecting positive outcomes and believing effort will succeed, creating motivation for sustained action. Positive expectations do not guarantee success, but dramatically increase probability through motivating greater effort, persistence, and resilience compared to pessimistic expectations that undermine motivation. Cultivate positive expectations through regularly visualizing desired positive outcomes, affirming belief in your capability to achieve goals, focusing attention on possibilities and opportunities, not just obstacles, and surrounding yourself with optimistic people whose outlook reinforces positive expectations. Balance positive expectations with realistic assessment, avoiding naive optimism that ignores genuine difficulties. The obstacle anticipation identifies likely challenges and difficulties that might arise, preparing contingencies and solutions in advance. Realistic optimism differs from naive optimism through acknowledging that obstacles will occur and preparing intelligently rather than ignoring risks. Practice obstacle anticipation through asking what could go wrong with this plan. What challenges am I likely to face? What would I do if specific obstacle occurred? And what contingencies should I prepare? Anticipation enables faster, more effective response when difficulties arise because you have already considered and planned for them. Obstacle anticipation paradoxically increases confidence because thorough preparation reduces anxiety about unknown challenges. The opportunity focus deliberately directs attention toward possibilities, opportunities, and positive aspects of situations, balancing natural negativity bias. Humans naturally focus on threats and problems for survival reasons, but this bias creates pessimism when not balanced. Practice opportunity focus through regularly asking what opportunities does this situation create? What positive aspects exist alongside difficulties? What could I gain from this experience? And what is going well that I might be overlooking? Opportunity focus does not deny problems. Art ensures balanced perspective, seeing both challenges and possibilities. The past success review counters pessimism through systematically reviewing evidence of previous successes, resilience, and capability. When facing difficulty and feeling pessimistic, review specific examples of past challenges you overcame, previous setbacks you recovered from, goals you achieved despite obstacles, and capabilities you developed through effort. Past success provides evidence contradicting pessimistic beliefs about permanent inadequacy, proving you have overcome difficulties before and can do so again. The controllable focus directs effort toward factors within your influence rather than dwelling on uncontrollable elements. Optimism combined with sense of control over important outcomes predicts resilience, while pessimism or external locus of control predicts helplessness. Identify what aspects of situation you can influence through your choices, effort, or approach versus what remains outside your control. Focus energy and attention on controllable factors, maximizing agency while accepting uncontrollable elements you cannot change. The growth potential recognition sees difficult situations as opportunities for developing capabilities and character rather than purely negative experiences. Ask, what could I learn from this difficulty? What capabilities might this challenge help me develop? How could this adversity make me stronger or wiser? And what growth opportunities does this situation present? Growth potential recognition transforms adversity from purely negative to mixed experience, containing both difficulty and development opportunity. The balanced realism maintains optimism while acknowledging genuine challenges, avoiding both catastrophizing and naive positive thinking that ignores real problems. Realistic optimism thinks this is difficult but manageable. I am struggling now, but will improve with effort. Situation is challenging but temporary, or outcomes are uncertain, but I will do everything possible to succeed. This balance enables both hope-motivating effort and realistic preparation, addressing actual obstacles. The implementation requires developing optimistic explanatory style, interpreting setbacks as temporary, specific, and external, cultivating positive expectations, maintaining hope and motivation, anticipating obstacles, preparing contingencies intelligently, focusing on opportunities, balancing negativity bias, reviewing past successes, providing evidence of capability, directing effort toward controllable factors, maximizing agency, recognizing growth potential in difficulties, maintaining balanced realism, avoiding extremes, and treating realistic optimism as perspective, enabling persistence where pessimism destroyed motivation through hopeless, permanent, pervasive internal explanations, while naive optimism created vulnerability through ignoring real obstacles, making balanced optimism essential for resilience. Develop realistic optimism, balancing hope and preparation. Expect positive while preparing for obstacles. Optimize perspective or succumb to pessimism. You understand now that explanatory style affects resilience profoundly, that optimism motivates while pessimism undermines, that obstacle preparation prevents naivete, that balance maintains both hope and realism, and that Chapter 6 provides optimism framework making hopeful persistence possible where pessimism created giving up. Chapter 7. Framework 7 build physical foundation supporting mental strength. Chapter 7 builds physical foundation, recognizing that mental resilience requires physical health as essential prerequisite. The mind-body connection from psychophysiology research shows that physical state profoundly affects psychological resilience, mental clarity, emotional regulation, and stress tolerance because brain function depends on biological systems. That sleep deprivation, exercise deficiency, and poor nutrition guarantee mental weakness regardless of psychological techniques or willpower through depleting neurological and physiological resources required for resilience. That physical health enables mental strength while physical depletion undermines it, creating downward spiral where poor physical state reduces mental capacity, which further degrades physical self-care. That attempting to build mental resilience without addressing physical foundation is futile, like building house on sand where structure collapses regardless of quality, because foundation cannot support it. And understanding that prioritizing sleep, exercise, and nutrition as non-negotiable foundations is essential. Seventh framework for unbreakable mental resilience, because physical health provides biological capacity for psychological strength, making physical self-care critical prerequisite, not optional enhancement. Build physical foundation supporting mental resilience. Prioritize sleep, exercise, nutrition. Strengthen physically or weaken mentally. The sleep priority establishes adequate quality sleep as absolute non-negotiable foundation because sleep deprivation devastates mental resilience through impairing prefrontal cortex function, reducing emotional regulation, increasing stress reactivity, and undermining decision-making. Research consistently shows that sleep deprivation below 7 hours nightly creates measurable cognitive and emotional impairment comparable to intoxication. Sleep enables memory consolidation, emotional processing, stress, hormone regulation, and cellular repair, making it fundamental biological requirement, not luxury or weakness. Prioritize sleep through maintaining consistent sleep schedule, going to bed and waking same time daily, including weekends. Creating dark, cool, quiet sleep environment. Avoiding screens and stimulating activities before bed. Limiting caffeine after early afternoon. And treating sleep as sacred non-negotiable priority, not something sacrificed for other activities. When facing demanding periods, protect sleep even more vigilantly because that is when you need resilience most. 7 to 9 hours quality sleep nightly provides biological foundation, enabling all other resilience frameworks, while chronic sleep debt guarantees mental fragility. The exercise practice establishes regular physical activity as essential resilience component, because exercise produces numerous mental health benefits through reducing stress hormones like cortisol, increasing mood-enhancing endorphins and neurotransmitters, improving sleep quality, building stress tolerance through controlled physical challenge, and creating sense of accomplishment and capability. Exercise serves as both prevention, reducing baseline stress and anxiety, and intervention, providing healthy outlet for stress and negative emotions when they arise. Establish exercise routine through choosing activities you genuinely enjoy, making consistency sustainable. Scheduling exercise as non-negotiable appointments, starting with manageable frequency and duration, then building gradually. Finding social exercise opportunities, increasing accountability. And varying activities, preventing boredom while developing different physical capacities. Aim for minimum 150 minutes moderate exercise or 75 minutes vigorous exercise weekly, with additional mental health benefits from higher amounts. Exercise is particularly critical during high-stress periods when you might feel you lack time, because that is precisely when stress-reducing benefits are most valuable. The nutrition quality provides mental fuel through food supporting brain function, mood regulation, and stress resilience. Nutrition affects mental state through blood sugar stability, influencing energy and mood. Nutrient availability providing building blocks for neurotransmitters, inflammation levels affecting brain function, and gut microbiome influencing mental health through gut-brain axis. Optimize nutrition through emphasizing whole foods including vegetables, fruits, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats. limiting processed foods, added sugars, and excessive caffeine that create blood sugar swings and energy crashes. Staying adequately hydrated, as dehydration impairs cognitive function. Eating regular meals, preventing energy and mood crashes from hunger. And considering supplementation for deficiencies, particularly vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids, and B vitamins that affect mental health. Nutrition need not be perfect, but chronic poor nutrition undermines mental resilience, while adequate nutrition supports it. The stress hormone management recognizes that chronic elevated cortisol from unmanaged stress damages physical and mental health, requiring active recovery practices. Manage stress hormones through regular exercise, reducing cortisol. Adequate sleep, enabling hormone regulation. Relaxation practices like meditation or deep breathing, activating parasympathetic system. Enjoyable activities and social connection, reducing stress and avoiding chronic overwork or stress without recovery periods. Chronic stress without recovery creates hormonal dysregulation, undermining both physical health and mental resilience. The substance moderation limits alcohol and other substances that undermine sleep quality, emotional regulation, and mental clarity. While moderate alcohol or caffeine consumption may not cause problems, excessive use disrupts sleep, degrades emotional regulation, increases anxiety and depression, and impairs cognitive function. Assess substance use honestly, evaluating whether consumption serves well-being or undermines it, and moderating accordingly. The physical health monitoring addresses medical issues affecting mental state because untreated health problems undermine resilience. Conditions like thyroid disorders, vitamin deficiencies, chronic pain, or inflammation affect mental health, requiring medical attention. Maintain regular health checkups, address symptoms promptly, and treat physical health issues as they arise rather than ignoring them. The recovery integration balances activity with adequate rest and recovery, preventing chronic depletion. Recovery includes rest days from intense exercise, relaxation time after demanding work, vacation, and genuine time off, and restorative activities like gentle movement, nature time, or creative pursuits. Recovery enables sustained high performance, while constant activity without recovery creates burnout. The implementation requires prioritizing 7 to 9 hours quality sleep nightly as non-negotiable foundation, establishing regular exercise routine, providing stress reduction and mood enhancement, optimizing nutrition through whole foods, stable blood sugar, and adequate hydration, managing stress hormones through recovery practices, moderating substance use, avoiding sleep and mood disruption, monitoring physical health, addressing medical issues affecting mental state, integrating adequate recovery, balancing activity with rest, and treating physical foundation as essential prerequisite for mental resilience, where physical depletion guaranteed psychological weakness regardless of mental techniques, making physical self-care critical priority for unbreakable mental strength. Build physical foundation, supporting mental resilience. Prioritize sleep, exercise, nutrition. Strengthen physically or weaken mentally. You understand now that physical state determines mental capacity, that sleep provides essential foundation, that exercise reduces stress and builds resilience, that nutrition fuels brain function, and that Chapter 7 provides physical framework, making mental strength possible where physical neglect undermines psychological resilience. Chapter 8. Framework 8. Practice acceptance of uncontrollable factors. Chapter 8 practices acceptance of uncontrollable factors, reducing suffering from futile resistance. The acceptance paradox. From acceptance and commitment therapy shows that accepting unchangeable reality paradoxically reduces distress and enables more effective action compared to resisting or denying reality, which amplifies suffering and prevents productive response. That resistance to uncontrollable reality creates additional suffering beyond the difficulty itself through fighting what cannot be changed, depleting energy, and preventing adaptation. That acceptance does not mean approval, resignation, or giving up, but rather acknowledging reality as it is, enabling clear-eyed response to actual situation, not wished for alternative. That distinguishing controllable factors where effort makes difference from uncontrollable factors where struggle is futile enables directing energy effectively instead of wasting it fighting unchangeable circumstances. And understanding that practicing acceptance of uncontrollable factors while focusing effort on controllable elements is essential. 8th framework for unbreakable mental resilience. Because acceptance reduces unnecessary suffering and enables effective action, making acceptance critical wisdom for psychological strength. Accept uncontrollable factors, focusing on controllables. Embrace reality, reducing suffering. Practice acceptance or resist futilely. The control distinction separates factors you can influence through your choices, effort, and actions from factors completely outside your control regardless of effort. Controllable factors include your thoughts, interpretations, and perspectives, your actions and behaviors, your effort and persistence, how you spend your time and attention, what skills you develop, and how you treat others. Uncontrollable factors include other people's thoughts, feelings, and actions, past events that already occurred, many external circumstances and conditions, other people's opinions of you, and ultimate outcomes that depend partly on factors beyond your influence. Make explicit distinction for each challenging situation by listing what aspects you can control or influence versus what remains outside your control. This clarity prevents wasting energy on uncontrollable factors while directing effort toward controllable elements where it makes difference. The reality acceptance acknowledges situations as they actually are rather than how you wish they were or think they should be. Resistance to reality creates suffering through constantly comparing actual situation to desired alternative, creating perpetual dissatisfaction. Reality acceptance does not mean liking or approving of situation, but simply acknowledging this is what is happening right now. Practice reality acceptance through acknowledging facts of situation without judgment, using acceptance phrases like "this is the reality I am facing right now," "I cannot change what has already happened," and releasing the should statements like "this should not have happened" or "people should not act this way" that create suffering through comparing reality to imagined alternatives. Acceptance creates foundation for effective response because you can only respond effectively to actual situation, not wished for alternative. The resistance recognition identifies when you are fighting unchangeable reality, creating additional suffering beyond the difficulty itself. Signs of resistance include ruminating repeatedly about unfair or wrong situation, engaging in thinking about how things ought to be different, feeling persistent anger or resentment toward unchangeable circumstances, or repeatedly trying same ineffective approach despite clear evidence it does not work. When noticing resistance, ask, what am I fighting that I cannot actually change? Is my resistance helping or creating additional suffering? And what would acceptance enable me to do differently? Recognize that pain from difficult situation is inevitable, but suffering from resisting reality is optional. The radical acceptance practice fully embraces reality of difficult, unchangeable situations rather than partial grudging acknowledgement. Radical acceptance means accepting completely at emotional level, not just intellectual acknowledgement, accepting without bitterness or resentment, and accepting that this is the path your life has taken, including all difficulties. Practice radical acceptance for major unchangeable difficulties like chronic illness, permanent losses, past traumas, or unchosen circumstances that significantly affect life. Radical acceptance does not happen instantly, but develops gradually through repeated practice of acknowledging and allowing reality. The present moment focus directs attention to current reality rather than dwelling on unchangeable past or uncertain future. Much suffering comes from mental time travel, worrying about future that has not happened or ruminating about past that cannot change, while present moment is often manageable. Practice present focus through noticing when attention drifts to past regrets or future worries, gently redirecting to what is happening right now in this moment, and asking what is actually happening in present versus what I am imagining or remembering. Present focus reduces suffering while enabling response to actual current situation. The values alignment ensures acceptance serves your values and goals rather than becoming passive resignation. Acceptance is not giving up, but releasing futile struggle with unchangeable factors to focus energy on controllable actions aligned with values. After accepting unchangeable reality, ask, what can I do now that aligns with my values? What actions are possible despite these constraints? And how can I move toward what matters given actual circumstances? Acceptance enables values-driven action rather than preventing it. The grief allowance permits feeling appropriate sadness, disappointment, or loss about difficult, unchangeable situations rather than demanding immediate positivity. Acceptance includes accepting your emotional responses to difficulty, not just external circumstances. Allow yourself to grieve losses, acknowledge disappointments, and feel appropriate negative emotions about genuinely difficult situations. This emotional acceptance paradoxically enables moving forward more effectively than demanding premature positive thinking that denies real pain. The flexible response adjusts approach based on actual circumstances rather than rigidly insisting on preferred method that reality does not support. Acceptance enables flexibility through acknowledging that situation requires different approach than originally preferred. Ask what does actual situation require versus what did I originally want? How can I adapt my approach to actual circumstances? And what alternative paths exist given real constraints? Flexibility born from acceptance creates resilience through enabling effective response regardless of circumstances. The implementation requires distinguishing controllable factors you can influence from uncontrollable factors outside your control, accepting reality as it actually is, not as wished for alternative, recognizing when you resist unchangeable reality creating additional suffering, practicing radical acceptance of major unchangeable difficulties, focusing on present moment rather than unchangeable past or uncertain future, aligning acceptance with values, enabling values-driven action, allowing appropriate grief and emotional responses to genuine difficulties, responding flexibly, adapting to actual circumstances, and treating acceptance as reducing suffering and enabling effective action where resistance to unchangeable reality created futile struggle and additional distress, making acceptance essential wisdom for mental resilience. Accept uncontrollable factors, focusing on controllables. Embrace reality, reducing suffering. Practice acceptance or resist futilely. You understand now that acceptance paradoxically reduces suffering, that control distinction enables effective effort direction, that resistance amplifies distress, that present focus reduces worry, and that Chapter 8 provides acceptance framework, making peace with reality possible where resistance created unnecessary suffering. Chapter 9. Framework 9. Develop purpose and meaning, providing motivation. Chapter 9 develops purpose and meaning, providing motivation to persist through difficulties and suffering. The meaning importance from Viktor Frankl research shows that purpose and meaning provide essential reason to endure hardship, because meaningless suffering feels unbearable, while meaningful struggle becomes sustainable even when extraordinarily difficult. That humans can endure almost any suffering when they have compelling why, making meaning fundamental psychological need, not optional enhancement. That meaning derives from contributing to something beyond yourself, connecting to values and finding significance in experiences including suffering itself. That modern life often lacks inherent meaning, requiring deliberate cultivation of purpose through conscious choice and commitment, and understanding that developing clear sense of purpose and meaning in life, work, and relationships is essential. Ninth framework for unbreakable mental resilience, because meaning transforms suffering from pointless burden to meaningful challenge, making purpose critical source of motivation, strength, and resilience. Develop purpose and meaning, motivating persistence. Connect to what matters. Build meaning or face meaningless suffering. The values clarification identifies what matters most to you, providing foundation for meaningful living. Values are chosen life directions and qualities you want to embody, like loving relationships, personal growth, contribution to others, creativity, authenticity, or adventure. Values differ from goals as ongoing directions rather than achievable endpoints. Clarify values through asking, what do I want my life to stand for? What qualities do I want to embody? What would I want people to say about me? What matters most to me? And what gives my life significance? Common value domains include relationships, work and achievement, personal growth and learning, health and vitality, creativity and expression, spirituality or transcendence, and contribution to community or causes. Identify your core values in each relevant domain, creating clear sense of what matters, providing compass for decision-making and source of meaning. The purpose connection links daily actions and efforts to larger meaningful purpose, transforming mundane activities into meaningful contributions. Purpose provides answer to why questions, explaining why effort matters beyond immediate results. Connect purpose through asking, how does this activity serve my values? How does this contribute to something beyond myself? Why does this matter in larger context? And how does this align with what I want my life to stand for? Purpose connection transforms work from mere job to meaningful contribution, relationships from casual interaction to valued connection, and challenges from arbitrary difficulties to meaningful tests. Regular purpose reflection, asking, how am I living my values today, and is my life aligned with what matters most? Maintains purpose connection, preventing drift into meaningless activity. The contribution focus finds significance through helping others and contributing to something beyond yourself. Humans find meaning through transcending purely self-centered concerns, contributing to other people, causes, communities, or ideals larger than individual self. Contribution might include helping others directly through service or support, creating value for others through work, advancing causes or ideals you believe in, leaving positive legacy for future generations, or developing yourself to better serve others. Identify how your activities contribute beyond yourself, asking who benefits from this work. How does this help others or advance what matters? And what positive impact does this create? Contribution transforms activities from self-serving to meaningful service. The meaning in suffering discovers significance even in unavoidable difficulties through the attitude you take towards suffering. Frankl argued that when suffering is unavoidable, we can find meaning through the attitude and courage we demonstrate while facing it. Meaning in suffering might come from growing stronger through adversity, developing compassion through experiencing hardship, discovering capabilities you did not know you possessed, or serving as inspiration to others facing similar difficulties. When facing unavoidable suffering, ask, what can I learn from this experience? How can I grow through this difficulty? What strength can I demonstrate? How might my response inspire or help others? And what meaning can I create from this challenge? This does not make suffering good, but prevents it from being purely meaningless. The legacy consideration asks what lasting impact you want to make, providing long-term purpose beyond immediate circumstances. Legacy questions include: what do I want to contribute that outlasts me? How do I want to be remembered? What positive difference do I want to make? And what matters enough to dedicate my life to? Legacy thinking extends purpose beyond daily concerns, connecting to enduring significance. The meaningful activities engagement ensures regular participation in activities that create sense of meaning and purpose, rather than purely hedonic pleasure. Meaningful activities align with values, contribute to others, involve personal growth, express creativity or spirituality, or build important relationships. Balance pleasurable activities, providing enjoyment, with meaningful activities, providing purpose, recognizing that pure pleasure without meaning creates emptiness, while meaning without pleasure creates burnout. Identify what activities create genuine sense of meaning and purpose for you, then prioritize regular engagement in those activities. The narrative coherence creates meaningful story of your life, integrating experiences, including difficulties, into coherent narrative, where challenges become character-building episodes rather than random meaningless suffering. Construct narrative asking, what is my life story? How do challenges fit into larger arc? What am I learning or becoming through experiences? And how do difficulties contribute to who I am becoming? Narrative coherence creates meaning through seeing life as meaningful journey, not random events. The purpose during adversity specifically applies meaning-making during difficult times, when purpose provides essential motivation to persist. During adversity, ask, why does persisting through this difficulty matter? What purpose does continuing serve? How does enduring this align with my values? And what meaning can I find in this struggle? Purpose transforms suffering from pointless burden to meaningful challenge worth enduring. The implementation requires clarifying core values in important life domains, connecting daily actions to larger meaningful purpose, focusing on contribution to others and beyond yourself, discovering meaning even in unavoidable suffering through attitude taken, considering legacy and lasting impact you want to make, engaging regularly in meaningful activities aligned with values, constructing coherent narrative, integrating experiences into meaningful story, applying purpose specifically. During adversity, providing motivation to persist, and treating purpose and meaning as providing essential motivation, enabling resilience where meaninglessness made suffering unbearable, preventing persistence through difficulties, making meaning critical source of psychological strength. Develop purpose and meaning, motivating persistence. Connect to what matters, build meaning or face meaningless suffering. You understand now that meaning enables enduring hardship, that values provide foundation, that contribution creates significance, that suffering can have meaning through attitude, and that Chapter 9 provides purpose framework, making motivated persistence possible where meaninglessness made suffering unbearable. Chapter 10. Framework 10. Integrate all elements into comprehensive resilience architecture. Chapter 10 integrates all 9 frameworks into comprehensive resilience architecture, creating genuinely unbreakable psychological strength. The integration principle shows that individual frameworks practiced in isolation create partial resilience, addressing specific aspects of psychological strength, while comprehensive integration of all frameworks creates synergistic complete resilience that addresses all dimensions of mental fortitude. that resilience architecture becomes truly unbreakable only through multiple reinforcing elements working together, because single-dimension strengths leave vulnerabilities while multidimensional integrated strength creates comprehensive protection. That integration requires sustained simultaneous development across all framework areas, not sequential mastery, preventing lopsided development that leaves gaps in resilience. That most people develop one or two resilience elements while neglecting others, creating incomplete psychological strength, easily overwhelmed by challenges targeting weak areas. And understanding that full integration into cohesive, comprehensive resilience architecture is essential 10th and final framework for unbreakable mental resilience, because only complete integration creates the comprehensive psychological strength that enables thriving through any adversity, making integration critical for genuine unbreakable resilience. Integrate all frameworks into resilience architecture. Combine comprehensively, creating strength. Build complete system or remain partially resilient. The architecture design maps how all 9 frameworks combine and reinforce each other, creating coherent, integrated whole exceeding sum of individual parts. Stress inoculation from Framework 1 builds tolerance, enabling handling of challenges that cognitive reframing from Framework 2 makes manageable through perspective shifts. Growth mindset from Framework 3 enables viewing difficulties as opportunities, while emotional regulation from Framework 4 maintains composure, enabling effective response. Social support from Framework 5 provides safety net and assistance, while realistic optimism from Framework 6 maintains hope, motivating persistence. Physical foundation from Framework 7 provides biological capacity for psychological strength, while acceptance from Framework 8 reduces suffering from uncontrollable factors. Purpose from Framework 9 provides motivation to persist through difficulties, while integration from Framework 10 ensures all elements work together synergistically. Each framework enhances and enables others, creating reinforcing system where whole dramatically exceeds separate parts. The synergistic combination recognizes how frameworks multiply each other's effectiveness, creating compound advantages beyond additive benefits. Stress inoculation combined with growth mindset creates willingness to seek difficult challenges as development opportunities. Cognitive reframing combined with emotional regulation enables maintaining perspective and composure during stress. Social support combined with acceptance enables seeking help for controllable factors while accepting uncontrollable ones. Physical foundation combined with realistic optimism creates both biological capacity and psychological hope. Purpose combined with all other frameworks provides overarching, while making resilience development meaningful. Consciously leverage synergies through applying multiple frameworks together, recognizing that combinations create effects no single framework achieves alone. The progressive development sequence recognizes that building complete resilience architecture requires sustained effort over time, making strategic phased approach essential. Foundation phase focuses on frameworks 1 through 3, building stress tolerance, cognitive reframing, and growth mindset over initial 6 to 12 months. Regulation phase adds frameworks 4 through 6, developing emotional regulation, social support, and realistic optimism over next 6 to 12 months. Strength phase incorporates frameworks 7 through 9, building physical foundation, acceptance, and purpose over subsequent 6 to 12 months. Integration phase combines all elements into comprehensive architecture over final 6 to 12 months. Full resilience development typically requires 2 to 4 years of sustained practice across all frameworks, creating genuinely comprehensive, unbreakable psychological strength. The balanced attention maintains development across all framework elements rather than obsessively perfecting single dimension while neglecting others. True unbreakable resilience requires adequacy across all dimensions, not perfection in one area. Establish regular practice in all framework areas, including weekly stress inoculation exposure, daily cognitive reframing practice, ongoing growth mindset reinforcement, regular emotional regulation technique practice, consistent social support maintenance, optimistic explanatory style application, non-negotiable physical foundation habits, acceptance practice for uncontrollable factors, and purpose connection reflection. Track development across dimensions, identifying lacking elements requiring focused attention, ensuring comprehensive, balanced growth. The resilience measurement assesses current psychological strength across all dimensions, identifying strengths requiring maintenance and weaknesses requiring focused development. Regularly evaluate yourself honestly across all 9 frameworks, asking how well do I tolerate stress? How effectively do I reframe challenges? How strong is my growth mindset? How well do I regulate emotions? How robust is my social support? How optimistic yet realistic is my outlook? How solid is my physical foundation? How well do I accept uncontrollable factors? And how clear is my sense of purpose? Compare against goals and identify specific gaps requiring attention. The practice integration will use resilience practices into daily life, creating sustainable habits rather than requiring separate, dedicated time for each framework. Integration might include combining stress inoculation with exercise through challenging workouts, practicing cognitive reframing during daily challenges as they arise, applying growth mindset to setbacks immediately when they occur, using emotional regulation techniques in real time during stress, maintaining social support through regular life activities, expressing realistic optimism in self-talk and planning, building physical foundation through lifestyle rather than separate program, practicing acceptance throughout day when encountering uncontrollable factors, and connecting to purpose during routine activities. Integrated practice ensures sustainability through embedding resilience into life rather than adding separate demands. The lifelong commitment accepts that resilience development never completes but continues throughout life. Each level of resilience enables handling larger challenges, revealing next level of development. Commit to perpetual resilience, strengthening maintaining practice across all frameworks, indefinitely treating resilience as ongoing practice, not achieved endpoint. The implementation requires designing comprehensive resilience architecture integrating all 9 frameworks synergistically, recognizing and leveraging synergies where frameworks multiply effectiveness, developing progressively through multi-year systematic phased approach, maintaining balanced attention across all dimensions, preventing lopsided development, measuring resilience, regularly identifying strengths and gaps, integrating practices into daily life, creating sustainable habits, committing to lifelong resilience development and strengthening, and treating comprehensive integration as creating genuinely unbreakable mental resilience through multidimensional psychological strength where partial development left vulnerabilities that adversity exploited, making complete integration across all 10 frameworks essential for psychological fortitude that enables thriving through any challenge. You have learned 10 frameworks for developing unbreakable mental resilience. Framework 1: Building stress inoculation through controlled exposure. Framework 2: Developing cognitive reframing, transforming challenge perception. Framework 3: Cultivating growth mindset, viewing obstacles as opportunities. Framework 4: Establishing emotional regulation, maintaining composure. Framework 5: Creating strong social support networks, providing safety. Framework 6: Developing realistic optimism, balancing hope and preparation. Framework 7: Building physical foundation, supporting mental strength. Framework 8: Practicing acceptance of uncontrollable factors. Framework 9: Developing purpose and meaning, providing motivation. Framework 10: Integrating all elements into comprehensive resilience architecture. What matters now is practicing one framework today. 5 immediate priorities. Expose yourself to one controlled, manageable stressor, building tolerance. Reframe one challenging situation, identifying empowering interpretation. Adopt growth mindset, viewing one setback as learning opportunity. Practice one emotional regulation technique like controlled breathing during stress. Reach out, strengthening one important relationship in your support network. Start immediately. Practice deliberately. Develop unbreakable resilience. Stop breaking under pressure and start developing unbreakable mental resilience, maintaining strength, composure, and effectiveness through any challenge. Stop psychological fragility and start psychological strength. Practice frameworks systematically, integrate comprehensively, and become mentally unbreakable through unwavering commitment starting right now today.